Distressed, astonished, speechless, the reaction of the head of Huntingdon Life Sciences after its long-planned share flotation on the New York Stock Exchange was put on hold without explanation with just 45 minutes to go. Based in Britain, HLS has become well known as the target of anti-vivisection campaigners. Now Channel 4 News has learned that animal rights activists organised a massive telephone bombardment of Wall Street just hours before the flotation was due to happen. In a moment, we'll hear from HLS's chief executive, Dr. Brian Cass. But first, Katie Razzle has this report.
The message isn't exactly subtle, but was this what forced the New York Stock Exchange to crumble? After all, it looked like just another day here yesterday, but 45 minutes before this, something entirely out of the ordinary had happened away from the camera. Representatives of Huntingdon Life Sciences, who'd been welcomed heartily for their planned flotation, suddenly told it was postponed while the exchange considered certain, quotes, concerns.
Well, this is a highly unusual decision. Normally it's utilised only when there's financial irregularity or when there's a problem with a director or a major shareholder. So for this to happen at the very last minute, I can only assume it's because of threats made by animal rights extremists.
Huntingdon Life Sciences are furious. Its chief executive, Brian Cass, no stranger to controversy, hit by a baseball bat allegedly by a protester a few years ago. The tactics used against his company, the targeting of anyone connected with it, however tenuously, famous in the UK, and now perhaps exported abroad very publicly. Channel 4 News contacted WAR, or Win Animal Rights, a New York-based anti-vivisection group. They told us they had sent out an email just a few hours before Huntingdon was due to start trading to 10,000 activists, telling them to target the stock exchange. They have made themselves a primary focal point of this campaign, it said. Please write polite letters and emails and make polite phone calls to let them know what you think of their decision. Brian Cass will be on Wall Street for the day, but WAR will be there every day after that. The stock exchange refused to answer our questions as to why it had acted so hastily, only confirming the flotation had been postponed.
It was our goal to make sure that every investor and every stockbroker on Wall Street knew what Huntingdon Life Sciences did behind their locked gates and razor-wire fences. There's no telling how many people actually hit the phones on the morning that they were supposed to open.
I've actually rung some of the people from the New York Stock Exchange up myself and had totally civil, polite conversations with them. And when I've explained to them who Huntingdon Life Sciences are, they've been absolutely horrified.
The business of animal testing increasingly difficult. HLS was already forced off the London Stock Exchange in 2001 when investors were targeted. One American senator has written to the New York Exchange cautioning them not to capitulate to extremists. But Huntingdon's plans to raise capital in America now looking uncertain.
Katie Razzle reporting. Well, the chief executive of Huntingdon Life Sciences, Brian Cass, has arrived back in Cambridge from New York overnight. A short time ago, I spoke to him and asked him what had happened.
Well, we arrived at the stock exchange yesterday morning at the request of the exchange to have breakfast with executives prior to the first trading on the exchange at 9:30 yesterday morning. We were greeted very well. We met some of the executives who were expressing their pleasure that we were listing on the exchange. We discussed the fact that some of our competitors are listed on the exchange and many of our customers as well. And then probably half an hour into our stay there, the president of the exchange joined us and said that she had some news that she felt would be disappointing to us in that they would not be listing us as of yesterday morning and that the listing would be postponed.
Did they explain why? Did they explain why?
All they said was that they said that there had been concerns raised with people within the exchange which they felt they needed to fully consider and they needed a period of time to do that, and therefore they would be postponing our listing whilst they went through that process.
Do you have any reason to believe that that may have been intimidation or any kind of threat or any of the other things which you are now so used to?
I think there's a lot of conjecture around this because the threats that have been made quite overtly, I think, by various animal rights groups. From our perspective, you know, we have nothing very specific from the exchange to say that that is the reason. But I'm sure that behind it there must be some validity in that story, because certainly all of our application had already been completely and formally approved. Obviously, we were just minutes away from the listing.
Did the British government have any role in helping you with the flotation?
Absolutely none whatsoever. The government do not play any role in our financial status at all. They purely provide normal checking account facilities through the Department of Trade and Industry.
Well, what has happened to you is a singularly unusual event. I mean, 45 minutes before flotation. How do you feel about it?
Well, obviously we're exceedingly disappointed, distressed, astonished. We were absolutely speechless when we were told the news. You know, literally we looked at each other not really believing it. But obviously it was something that we had to come to terms with very quickly. We had to issue a press release very quickly to the investment community just to say as much about what has happened as we possibly could, which of course was very little, other than that the exchange were postponing our listing.
Well, already there's one senator who's come forward saying, you know, to the stock exchange they shouldn't give in to animal rights threats, or at least implying that much. But this would be a very considerable scalp for the animal rights people if you fail eventually to float.
Well, I think, you know, this is an incredible story for the New York Stock Exchange. We at Huntingdon, quite honestly, are used to dealing with adversity and to being resilient. I think the real questions now turn to the New York Stock Exchange as to why have they done this, what really brought it about, was it because of pressures, could it actually happen to other companies, will it happen to the other companies that are in our industry who are presently quoted on that exchange, will it happen to companies that are involved in armaments or smoking or tobacco or spirit or whatever it may be. You know, is this just the tip of the iceberg as regards the potential for the New York Stock Exchange to be affected by extremist pressure?
Dr.